Top of the day, beautiful people. Top of the day. It is Thursday, April the 28th, 2022, day 94 of year 4 of reading through the books of the Law and the Prophets, and of the 4-year consecutive day count, day 1112. Today, we're going to start a new little chapter in the OAHSPE on page 42. The book of Ashong, son of Jehovah. And then once we get through our 30 minutes of that, we're going to pick up where we left off in the meditation book a couple days ago on page 79. So let's get started. All right. Father, we thank you for another day. Continue leading us and guiding us into all truth. And if we ever get off track, we ask you that you alert us immediately. And if we're not listening, cause warning bells and sirens to go off all around us until we recognize it and get ourselves back on the right track. All right, Auntie, great rising. Audrey, shalom. I just responded to your post on the video the other day, Audrey, about the course. I said, send me an email and I'll send you the overview, because that's what they did to me. So I think I can give you the overview and that'd be okay. Mom, shalom, shalom. And the overview is pretty good. It shucks. The overview is in a, I think it's a PDF, or it's like a, I think it was PDF. If it's not PDF, I put it in PDF. No, it's in a PowerPoint. It's a PowerPoint. It's in a PowerPoint or PDF. Anyway, I'm sending it to you how they send it to me. And it gives you an overview of the entire course. And it's like 70 pages. Okay, it's like 70 pages. But it goes into a little bit of detail. And it's really colorful too. I think the colors is what really got me. I was like, I got to have this course. I got to have it. How do I get it? Okay, so I send it to you. Just send me an email. I made myself a note too, so I don't forget, because I be doing a whole bunch of stuff. Sometimes I be forgetting. All right, y'all. Trina, hey girl, hey. All right, y'all. Book of Ashong. And Ashong is spelled AH''SHONG. Book of Ashong, son of Jehovah, God of the second cycle after man's creation. You're welcome, Audrey. Okay, let me get a sip of water first before I even start. Being tongue-tied, mouth dry. Okay. Chapter 1. When God and his lords of heaven and earth had lost their heavenly dominion, the swift messengers that constantly plied through the atmospherian and Etherian worlds bore the report to Jehovah's kingdoms in Ethera. The earth had passed the Giaean eddies at Sharpa. What? Giaean eddies. Okay, I'm probably about to screw some of these words up. All right. Forgive me ahead of time. The earth had passed the Giaean eddies at Shrapa in the Etherian roadway Haya Balk Yiv, and was heading for the eastern fields of Anacron, having entered the Dahanian arches of Vihitavi, where lay the great kingdoms of the Orion chief Hawi and his millions of gods and goddesses, and the high-raised Etherians. Before I'm going to just say how, high. It's Hieu, we. I got the we part. It's the first part, but we're just going to say how we. Before how we came the swift messengers, fresh from the heavens of the earth, with their pitiful tales of woe that had befallen the inhabitants thereof. How we said, I behold the red star, the earth, O Jehovah. I have heard the tale of horror. What shall be done, O Father? Then spake Jehovah, saying, call thy tributary chief Ashong, let him hear the will of Jehovah. Then sent Hawi for Ashong, who had dominion over the fields of Anacron in Etheria, through which lay the roadway where the earth was to travel for 3,000 years. And when Ashong came before the holy council of Hawi's million gods and goddesses, the all light fell upon the throne like a sun, and the voice of the Creator spake in the midst of the light, saying, how we, my son, and how we answered, here I am. Here am I, thy servant, O Jehovah. Jehovah said, behold, the red star, the earth. She entereth the fields of Anacron. She is dripping wet and cold in the Giaean eddies. Her God and lords are powerless in the spell of darkness. Send thou thy son Ashong to deliver the earth and her heavens. For behold, I will bring them to this door. For behold, I will bring them to his door. Then spake Ashong, saying, thy will be done, O Jehovah. Though I have been long honored in Etheria with many Etherian worlds to command, I have not as yet redeemed one corporal world and her heaven from a time of darkness. Jehovah said, go then, my son, to the laboring earth and deliver her. But first appoint thou a successor for Anacron. Then spake Howie, who was older than the red star, who had seen many corporal worlds created, had seen them run their course and then disappear as such. He said to Ashon, send thou to Wan and to Hivigat in Etheria, and get the history of the earth and her heaven, and obtain thou also an account of her harvest of brides and bridegrooms to Jehovah. And thou shalt call from my realms as many million Etherian angels as thy labor may require, and with them proceed to the earth. And thou shalt have a line of swift messengers established betwixt this place and thine, and by the power of Jehovah I will answer thy prayers and whatsoever thou shalt need. Then Ashon went back to Anacron in his Etherian kingdom, and before his holy council made known Jehovah's will and his. Robin, Shalom, Shayla, Betwabu, Great Rising. And Ashon called for 60 million volunteers to go with him on his mission, and they came presently, some from Johan, some from Sing, some from Erath, some from Ganlu, and some from other various places in Anacron, came in millions, came as many as Ashon called for. So Ashon raised up a successor to Jehovah's throne in Anacron, and he was installed and crowned according to the discipline of the Etherian heavens. And Ashon sent swift messengers into the former roadway of the earth to obtain its history, its harvest of brides and bridegrooms. Then gazed Ashon towards the red star, and his 60 million volunteers also gazed and watched her as she coursed along the arches of Vahitavi. Thus Ashon, well skilled in the course and behavior of worlds, gathered together his millions of angels, trained in arduous enterprise and furtherance of Jehovah's will. Quickly they framed and equipped an Orion port Argon, and illuminated it with fire, lights, and bolts. And these sons and daughters of Jehovah embarked and sped forth 500,000 miles, even on the outskirts of Anacron, and they stood close above the earth, almost so near that the sweeping moon would touch the down-hanging curtain of Etherian fire. And here they halted, that both mortals and angels belonging to the earth might behold and fear. For such Jehovah made man by unusual sights to become weak and trembling, to change him to new purposes. Jehovah's voice spake to Ashon, saying, for 3 days and nights stand thou in the firmament, that man on earth and in atmosphere may behold the power and majesty of my chosen in heaven. Ashon said, on the 4th day, O Jehovah, I will cross Chinvat. On the 5th, descend toward the earth. Bring me, O Father, thy messengers from the lower heaven. I will converse with them. Jehovah sent the angels of the earth and lower heaven up to Ashon. Disheartened, they came to know Jehovah's will. Ashong said to them, "The Father's hosts are come from their high estate and glorious ease to redeem these fallen heavens and man on earth. It is our labor to come in love to the helpless and to teach them how to sing in Jehovah's praise." Then the swift messengers answered, "In the all persons boundless love, find thou recompense for thy holy worlds, most honored God. Down in darkness, long and earnestly have the lords of the earth labored conjointly with heaven's God, whose kingdom fell. Alas, our God, who ministered over the lower heaven, is crushed and humiliated. The enemies of high heaven, exulting in their spoil of Jehovah's kingdom and his name, mock us, saying, Where now is Jehovah? Whence cometh the higher light? O ye faithless, in an all person boundless. But now thy high shining sun, thy ship of Etherian fire, maketh the sons and daughters of the earth and her heaven to look and to fear and to tremble." And reference number 1 says to look, to fear, and to tremble. It just repeats it, but it puts brackets around 2. Okay. "But now thy high shining sun, thy ship of Etherian fire, maketh the sons and daughters of the earth and her heaven to look and to fear and to tremble. And when thy light appeared, we made all haste in hope of succor. Our souls are more than filled with thankfulness, and in Jehovah's name we will back and employ 1,000,000 trumpeters to proclaim around the earth and heaven, Jehovah is come." After due salutation, the swift messengers departed, and Ashong made all things in readiness for his descent when the proper time should arrive. Chapter 2. Jehovah spake. The video keep freezing? It's still freezing? Robin? Anybody that's there? Look, it's glitching. Okay, let me check my Wi-Fi. Make sure it's on the right one. I'm sorry, y'all. It was on both. I don't know. Maybe it is my Wi-Fi. Okay. Thank you, Alazar. Off. Yes, on and off. Okay. All right. I'll keep looking up. Okay. Yeah, Tiffany. Tiffany said she thought it was her. Okay, then it definitely must be my connection. I haven't touched anything. I don't think Verizon out here messing with nothing. I don't know. They might be doing some work or something. All right. Y'all say it's better now? I'm going to keep going. If it becomes too bad, if it's a glitch or something, it'll normally pop a message up here. Even if I look up late, the message will still be there on YouTube, at least on YouTube. But it doesn't have anything. I don't know. Maybe whatever it was, it ain't no more. Okay. Turn off your fan. My fan? You think it's my fan? Fan always on. Oh. I don't think it's my fan. But I'll turn it off anyway. Let's see. Okay, cut my fan off. I'm sorry, y'all. I don't know. We'll keep going. We'll see. I'm gonna have to go back and watch the video. And if it's too bad on YouTube, I'll check Facebook and I'll upload Facebook video to YouTube. I'm sorry, y'all. All right. I'll keep looking up. I'll keep looking up. Okay. Chapter 2. We good? Okay. Chapter 2. Jehovah spake to Ashong, saying, On the evening of the 3rd day shalt thou move thy Etherian ship toward the earth. And when thou arrivest within an Araphon, thou shalt halt for another 3 days, that thy magnificence may all the men and angels of earth with the power and glory of my emancipated sons and daughters. Okay, so after Arafon, Arrafon, there is reference letter A for Arafon. It's happening again. I don't know, y'all. Let me look at my whatchamacallit real quick. Let's see. Okay, so that's shining like it should. I'm gonna check the other one. I don't know, the Wi-Fi, my Wi-Fi circles they're shining like they should. They're not blinking or anything like that. They're like solid white circles. I don't know, y'all. I'm sorry. Is it real bad? This sucks. Okay. Is Facebook better? Let me see. Let me just double check my on Facebook. Okay. All right. So far, it's good over here. Okay. We're good. Audrey over on Facebook. Okay. Y'all, if it's too bad on YouTube, go over to Facebook. Hold on. Shayla, where you at? Girl, I need your help. Do me a favor. Post the Facebook link again. Facebook good? Okay. Hold on. Go to Facebook if live keeps glitching. Yeah, I'm gonna have to watch it. And if it's real bad when I go back and watch it, I'll yeah, okay. All right. Oh, remember you got to go to the Shayla, the page to get the link. Hold on, y'all. Still breaking up, but not too bad. Okay. This sucks. Hold on, y'all. Let me try and fix it real quick. Let me bring up. Shayla might not have heard me. Got to go to the page and pull the right link. Let me see. Oh, I think it might be glitching because my web page is moving. Maybe it is clearly it is my connection. It's moving slow. Something is wrong. I paid my bill, y'all. I paid my bill. We always pay our bills. Hold on. Okay, I got the link. Okay. There's the link. Okay. So if y'all got to leave YouTube and come to Facebook, come on over. All right, but I'll keep going. Yeah, I'm going to probably end up just replacing the video with the one from Facebook today. Okay. We're going to see if we can keep going. Hopefully Facebook will stay good. Okay, y'all. So what is this? Who was I at? The Arafon. Okay. An Arafon is about 20,000 miles. Okay. I was thinking the Arafon is like a ship or something. Okay. I'll just start it over. This is chapter 2, on page 43. Jehovah spake to Ashong, saying, on the evening of the 3rd day, thou shalt move thy Ethereal ship toward earth. And when thou arrivest within the Arafon, thou shalt halt for another 3 days, that thou magnificence may all the men and angels of earth with the power and glory of my emancipated sons and daughters. Ashong proceeded as commanded, and when he came within an Arafon, halted for 3 days, and the magnificence of the scene overcame the stubbornness of men of earth and angels in the atmosphere. Again, Jehovah said proceed again, my son, and when thou art within half the breadth of the earth, halt once more, and make in the place thereof a plateau, and it shall be the place of thy abiding for the time of dawn, which shall be for 7 years and 60 days. And from this time forth, my Etherian host shall not remain in atmosphere more than 8 years in any one cycle. This then that I give to thee shall be like every dawn of Dan, some of 1 year, some of 2 or 3 or 4 or more years, as the time requireth. And thou shalt dwell in thy kingdom 7 years and 60 days, and the time shall be called the first dawn of Dan, and the next succeeding shall be called the second dawn of Dan, and so on, as long as the earth bringeth forth. And the time from one dawn of Dan to another shall be called 1 Dan Ha, and 4 Dan Ha shall be called 1 square, because this is the sum of 1 density, which is 12,000 of the earth's years. And 12 squares shall be called 1 cube, which is the first dividend of the third space, in which there is no variation in the vortex of the earth. And 4 cubes shall be called 1 sum, because the magnitude thereof embraceth 1 equal of the great serpent. And then it has reference letter B after the great serpent. And that says, remember, the letter references are at the end of the book. Okay, so the great serpent says, these numerical gradations, square, cube, sum, refer to the periods of spiritual light and darkness through which the solar system passes as it travels through Ethera. The implication is that these cycles follow a repeating pattern over time. This concept is expounded upon in God's Book of Ben and in the Book of Cosmology and Prophecy, which is also in his book towards the back. So we'll get to that in time. Okay. Verse 7. Ashong proceeded again and moved within 4,000 miles of the earth, and the voice of Jehovah commanded Ashong to halt in place, and found a new kingdom, using all things requisite to that end. Jehovah said, thy place shall be a distance away from the earth, that thy dominion be not disturbed by the confusion of the fallen angels thereof. So also, to as many as shalt redeem away from the earth and from mortal contact, the distance of thy kingdom will prevent them returning. I'll read that again. Thy place shall be a distance away from the earth, that thy dominion be not disturbed by the confusion of the fallen angels thereof. So also, to as many as thou shalt redeem away from the earth and from mortal contact, the distance of thy kingdom will prevent them returning. Okay, so you know how some pass and then they go back and graft themselves on the living mortals or their living family members because of grief. Because of the distance, they're not going to do that. Okay. Ashong perceived, and he proclaimed what Jehovah had spoken to him. And the host cast out fastenings to the plateau, that the kingdom together with the Etherian sea of fire might rotate with the earth and its atmosphere. Let me read that again. Ashong perceived, and he proclaimed what Jehovah had spoken to him. And the host cast out fastenings to the plateau, that the kingdom together with the Etherian sea of fire might rotate with the earth and its atmosphere. Jehovah said, make strong the foundation of thy place, and erect 10,000 pillars of fire around about, and in every direction provide roadways and mansions, but in the midst thou shalt build the house of counsel, wherein shall sit thy host of dominion during dawn. Oh, I need another sip of water. Okay. Ashon built the place as commanded by Jehovah, and when it was finished, Jehovah said, "Thou shalt call the place Yeshua." And it was so called because it was a place of salvation. And Jehovah said, "Choose now thy counsel, my son, and also thy sub-officers, and when thou hast completed the list, leave in Yeshua the sub-officers, and proceed thou and thy counsel of 1,000,000 men and women with thee down to the earth and heaven thereof, and cast thine eyes upon the inhabitants, for they are in distress. And when thou comest to the place of my lords and my God, deliver thou them and bring them to Yeshua, for they need rest. And as many of the Ehims in heaven as are capable, bring thou also away with thee, and give them into the care of thy people." Ashon did as commanded, first selecting his council and his officers, and then he and his host proceeded to the earth as had been commanded. And that's the end of chapter 2. Oh, what I should have showed y'all, part 2, but it didn't show this plate yet. Okay, so this has plate 2, and I don't know what this is. B, okay, A, B. Okay, so when we was talking about the Araphon, that goes, this plate 2 goes with that. Etherians visiting the earth. A, you'll see the letters. A is atmosphere. B is the Etherians. E is the earth. And C, distance, 20,000 miles. Okay. A, E, A. Oh, going around. E, C, B. Oh. All right. I'm going to show it to you. It looks weird. But if you got the book, you can see it. Okay. So this is the plate right here. And this is A. If you see around here, so it has A on both sides because it's showing you that the A is going all the way around. And I don't know, maybe the black, I don't know, maybe it's the darkness of the sky or outer space or something, I don't know. But inside of that is E. And then you have C and B up here. All right. And I'll read what those letters are again. It says A, atmosphere. B, Etherians. E, the earth. Oh, so that E in the middle of the circle, the light part is earth. C is the distance from B to down here. And the distance is 20,000 miles. Okay. All right. Where we at? 28 minutes. I'll read a little bit of this. Read a little bit of this chapter. Matter of fact, I'm going to just read the whole chapter. Since we took a few minutes to kind of, because the glitching and stuff. Okay, chapter 3. Up to this time, the ancient names of the division of the lands of the earth had been maintained, and God and his lords had been driven from the place of Horeb, which had gone into dissolution, dwelt part of the time in Waga and part in Jud and Vohu. Jen, good morning. The link I posted because they said it was glitching over here on YouTube. I'm not sure if it's gotten better. I see a few more people came back in. But if it keeps glitching, go to the link I posted, the Facebook page link. Some people just jumped on over there. Okay. And God and the Lords had established 3 kingdoms, one in Waga, one in Jud, and one in Vohu. And within these kingdoms of heaven, there were 200 million of redeemed angels capable of the second resurrection, and 100 million Essenes and unlearned apprentices. Chief of the 3 heavens was Waga, and thither had God and his lords congregated with their chief officers as soon as the sign of the descending sea of Jehovah's kingdom appeared in the firmament above. To God Jehovah spake, saying, Make ready thy places, O my son, and thy lords with thee. Behold, I come in a world of fire, and my faithful workers shall find rest and happiness. Ashon will redeem thy sons and daughters. Yea, he will girdle the earth about with new Ethereal light and great power. Call together thy people, O God, and bid them rejoice and make merry, for the time of deliverance is at hand. Then God communicated to the lords, and they again to others, the words of Jehovah. And at the sight of the sign in heaven, the faithful began to rejoice and to gather together in their respective places. But of the unbelieving angels dwelling on earth, and with mortals and in other abodes, of whom there were hundreds of millions, this is what happened. They were overcome by the sight of the ship of fire in heaven above, and in fear fled in all directions. And by their great numbers in the presence of mortals, caused mortals also to fear and flee in search of some secure place. And many of these spirits of darkness came beseechingly to be admitted into the kingdoms of the lords, whither they had been invited for hundreds of years, but would not come. But God and the lords encompassed their places about with walls of light, and would not receive the unbelieving. God said, till such time as Ashon shall arrive, let order be maintained within my kingdoms. So it came to pass that for 60 days and nights, the fear that prevailed on earth and in heaven was such as had never been before since the earth was. And God and the lords brought their Esinars out, and they sang and danced before Jehovah. And on the approach of Ashon's host, with his musicians and heralds, and the great multitude arrayed in shining raiment, even God and the lords were overcome by the splendor and the magnificence. They sat down on the improvised throne, and the Ethereal marshals approached and divided, first into single columns, then double, then quadruple, and so on till the 50,000 marshals had enclosed all sides, save the east, where was an open space through which Ashon came, attended by his chief counselors, of which there were 5,000. After these came the council of 1,000,000, interbroken here and there with groups of thousands of Esinars who were chanting hymns of praise to Jehovah and his kingdoms. The lower heaven above the continent of Waga and parts of Jud and Vohu was illuminated by the host of Ashon, the like of which had never been in atmosphere before, nor was there any more work being done on earth or in heaven because of the fear and great stirring up. But now Ashon approached before the throne of God and the Lord's, saluting with the sign of the second degree of Jehovah, saying, in Jehovah's name and by his power, wisdom, and love, I come to give you joy. God said, in Jehovah's name, all hail. Ashon, chief of Anachron, all hail. And God went forth to the foot of the throne and received Ashon, whereupon the lords came forward, saluting also. The Esinars ceased singing, and Ashon proceeded to the throne and sat thereon. And God took off his own crown and gave it to Ashon, and also gave him the triangle, which was called the heirloom of the heavenly kingdoms of earth, bestowed by command of Jehovah. The all light was abundant around about Ashon, and the voice of Jehovah spake out of the midst thereof, saying, inasmuch as these things are done in my name prayerfully and in faith, so do I dwell with you all. My son shall wear thy crown, O God. Behold, I am come in might and swiftness, for it is the springtime of the earth. My son Cephas is afoot on the earth. He hath stirred up the earthborn, but I will establish anew my light in these heavens. Have I not said, I brought the seed of everlasting life to the earth? I gave God and his lords to teach mortals and spirits of my glories in the upper heavens, and I commanded that they that came up out of the earth should be my God and my lords in these realms. Ye were installed by my hand and have done a good work. Think not that I curse because Horeb and Moab are fallen, Knew I not beforehand that these things would be? Behold, I have provided all my works so that man should be forever making new things. Had Horeb stood, there had been no heaven to rebuild on earth in this day. How then could my newborn gods learn? Think not that I come to teach with mine own labor. I provide my people that they shall teach one another. That's good. Let me go back. I'm going to read that again. Ye were installed by my hand and have done a good work. Think not that I curse because Horeb and Moab are fallen. Knew I not beforehand that these things would be? Behold, I have provided all my works so that man should be forever making new things. Had Horeb stood, there had been no heaven to rebuild on earth in this day. How then could my newborn gods learn? Think not that I come to teach with mine own labor. I provide my people that they shall teach one another. What is so conceited as man? And yet I bring him into life, the dumbest of animals. That might be our title for today. What is so conceited as man? And yet I bring him into life, the dumbest of animals. Man prideth himself in his power and wisdom. I send a drought, and it has reference number 2. It just spells drought. It says drought, D-R-O-U-T-H, but it's a drought. It's just spelled 2 different ways. I send the drought, the rains, and winds, the weakest of my members, and they show man he is nothing. So also do my gods and lords of the lower heaven become conceited of their power and wisdom, but a turn of a word and their heavens fall. Excuse me. I need a big gulp of water. I'm going to have to start getting some hot tea in the morning just to make sure, or sing a song, just to make sure my airways and all that stuff is clear. So I'll be doing all this clearing my throat. It's nerve-wracking. No, it's not really nerve-wracking. It's a little, it just plucks my nerves. Okay. What is so conceited as man? And yet I bring him into life, the dumbest of animals. Man prideth himself in his power and wisdom. I send the drought, the rains and winds, the weakest of my members, and they show man he is nothing. So also do my gods and lords of the lower heaven become conceited of their power and wisdom, but a turn of a word and their heavens fall. Thousands of millions of souls turn from order and high estate into confusion and anarchy. Thus do I confound men and angels, and in their seeming misery lay the foundation for an everlasting good. The voice ceased. Ashong said, in the name of Jehovah, I announce my presence over earth and the lower heaven. The marshal said, all hail, Ashong, God of heaven and earth. Proclaim him in Jehovah's name. Hardly had these words gone forth when the voice of the entire host joined in proclaiming, all hail, O God, Son of Jehovah. Ashong, now God said, thy crown shall be my crown, for under this shall Jehovah's power triumph. Otherwise, people would say, behold, there is no virtue in Jehovah's crowns. So he placed it on his head and rose up and saluted the retired God and lords, saying to them, I have a place for ye, and it is called Yeshua. Retire thither with my proper officers, and partake of rest and freedom of the place until I come also. But the retired gods and lords said, hold on, y'all. All right. All right. I'm good. Hold on. Ashong, now God said, thy crown shall be my crown, for under this shall Jehovah's power triumph. Otherwise, people would say, behold, there is no virtue in Jehovah's crowns. So he placed it on his head and rose up and saluted the retired God and lords, saying to them, I have a place for ye, and it is called Yeshua. retire thither with my proper officers, and partake of rest and freedom of the place until I come also. But the retired gods and lords said, We pray thee, put us to labor. Whereupon God, Ashong, said, Jehovah's sons must not be humiliated. How then can ye labor under me? Were ye not Jehovah's God and lords? They perceived, and after due salutations, were provided with an escort of 500,000 men and women, and they departed on their way to Yeshua. And God, Ashong, said, Let Magi come before me, and Bingfo and Nest, and they shall be my lords of dawn in Jehovah's name. The three came and stood before the throne. God said, I announce the presence of Jehovah's lords. I announce the presence of Jehovah's lords of the earth. The marshals said, All hail, O Magi, is M''Ghi, Maggie, maybe it's Maggie. O Maggie and Bingfo and Nest, Jehovah's lords of earth. These were also proclaimed by the voice of the assembled host. God said, In Jehovah's name, go your ways, O lords of the earth. Whereupon the lords crowned themselves and at once departed, saluting reverently. God said, Bring the atmospherian marshals before me. They were brought and stationed in front of the throne. God said, Glory be to thee, O Jehovah. I have looked upon thy sons and daughters, who have withstood a great darkness, but retaineth faith in thee. In thy name and by virtue of thy power do I deliver them. Let him who is chief answer me. How many angels are prepared for the second resurrection? Sawney, chief marshal, said, 200 million. God said, Retire thou and thy companions, and gather together Jehovah's harvest of souls, and I will send them to Yeshua. The atmospherians were then duly arranged as commanded, and God called 100 swift messengers and 1,000 Etherian marshals, and they provided Abatos, and the host, prepared for the second resurrection, departed for Yeshua as commanded. I'm thinking about this and some of the stuff in the New Testament where it's talking about enter into my rest or enter into Yeshua, right? I'm like, this is interesting. Uncle J, big grand rising. I know you've been there for a minute. I just forgot to say hello. I'm sorry. Okay. The atmospherians were duly arranged as commanded, and God called 100 swift messengers and 1,000 Etherian marshals, and they provided Abatos, and the host, prepared for the second resurrection, departed for Yeshua as commanded. God said, I have now remaining my Etherian host, and the atmospherians in darkness. Of the latter, let them remain as they are for 3 days. For I will travel around the world, and my Etherian hosts with me, observing mortal spirits in their places and habits, that I may better judge them and provide accordingly. So God and his Etherian angels provided an Abatos, and they embarked and started on their journey, traveling imperceptibly to mortals. That's interesting. All right, y'all. So we're going to pause right here, and we'll start back tomorrow with chapter 4. Did the, I guess the connection, is it okay? No, it's going in and out still on YouTube. All right, y'all. So let's hop over here. Where we at? We have 44 minutes. Okay. We'll read probably a couple pages of this, and then we'll be done. Ooh, I want to read that. Ooh, let me get going. Okay. So we're picking up on page 79. What is the purpose of meditating? And it starts with this hieroglyph that represents ignorance. Cameron said, you had said something yesterday about the Bible taking plural context and making it singular a lot. Can you give some examples? Like with Cain and Abel, right? Everything, as a matter of fact, I think I said Cain and Abel. Okay, so the Bible makes a whole people into a singular person, right? They did the same thing with JC, right? Okay, let me talk about Cain and Abel first real quick. Okay, so in the OAHSPE, Cain wasn't just a singular person, right? It was a whole group of people, a nation of people, right? And those were the ones who just kind of did bad stuff to the other group of people, right? And then you had Abel, which we know in the Bible was a righteous person. Cain slew Abel, right? Abel's offering was accepted, Cain's was rejected. But in the OAHSPE, Cain, it was multiple people of the nation of Cain that murdered multiple people of the nation of Abel. The Bible just makes Cain and Abel into singular people. Let's use JC, Jesus Christ, or the what the New Testament calls the Savior. In the New Testament, they said God's Son is a single person. But all through the Old Testament, even before the New Testament was created, who was God's Son? And he repeated it. Yah said who his son was. It wasn't one single person. He said his son was Jacob. His son was Israel. Yes, Jacob in the beginning was one person. But Yahuwah referred to Jacob or the entire nation of Israel as Jacob or as my son. Think back to Exodus when he sent Moses to tell Pharaoh to let his people go. He said, matter of fact, he said, let my people go. But I want to say it was Exodus chapter 4. Don't quote me, but I think it was 4. I have to go pull it back up. But he said, let my son go that he may worship me. Was he talking about one person that he had in bondage there in Egypt? When he said my son, he was referring to the entire nation of Israel or the entire nation of Jacob or all of Jacob's sons and daughters. And remember, son encompasses, that's another thing. Even with son encompasses daughters as well. Because when he said, let my son go, he wasn't just saying go get all the men, but get all the men and the women too, right? So I hope that was a couple good examples for you. All right, so that's what I was talking about. All right, y'all. So this first hieroglyph says ignorant, right? And the word ignorant in Egypt is Kim, Khemen. And so I'm going to show you the hieroglyph for that. This right here. And I think you both on YouTube and Facebook can see that. Let me get a little closer so you can, just in case you want to screenshot it if you don't have the book. Ooh, I was supposed to screenshot something yesterday and send it to y'all, right? Oh, man. My day kind of got away. I'm going to have to go back and watch the video and see what I was supposed to send y'all. All right. All human beings desiring to experience peace, fulfillment, and abiding happiness, as well as self-knowledge and to know the secrets of the universe, including why am I here? Who am I? Where do I come from? And who is or what is God? There is one obstacle that prevents them from attaining this knowledge: ignorance. The practice of religion and spiritual studies is to resolve the ignorance and allow a human being to discover the truth about themselves and about what there is beyond death. How is the higher vision attained? And it has Shatu Neter or Sheti. The disciplines of Shatu Neter or ancient Egyptian African religion and Sheti. Sheti is the study of spiritual mysteries through the practice of Simatawi or yogic disciplines. Purpose of meditation is to purify the mind. 2 stages: informal, or which is virtue, and formal, disciplinary. Let me show you this. So right here, when it has this, it has the arrow that says gross IMP Gross, maybe IMP is implications. I think, I don't know. If I figure that out, what that is on the way, I'll come back to it. Okay, so I think this is supposed to be implications. This is gross implications, like your virtue and everything. And then you have, what is this? This is subtle implications, right? It's disciplinary, the discipline that you hold, right? But they're all connected together, right? So you have to have both in meditation, right? The purpose is to purify the mind, but you also have to have virtue and you have to have discipline as well, right? And those are processes that we walk through in life. The ultimate goal of life is to attain the greatest state of Nehast, Nehast, or spiritual awakening. Nehast is spiritual awakening. Many mystics around the world call it by different names. Resurrection, church calls it resurrection, liberation, enlightenment, etc. This great goal of life is attained when the mind is purified through the 2 stages of meditation practice. The first mode of meditative practice is informal. Informal means all of the time the formal mode is not being engaged. What? Let me read that again. Informal means all of the time when the formal mode is not being engaged. Oh, okay. Anytime that it's not formal, it's informal. I get it. Okay. The formal mode is when a person makes a special time to sit and concentrate on meditating. Okay. So you have the formal time, or the time that you set aside to do your meditating, like this is scheduled in, this is formal, this is our ritual that we're doing, right? So you have that scheduled time, but your informal should also be like that same way of life. It's informal, but you're still practicing. It's like you're still holding true to those virtues. Like you don't just be righteous here in this time, but you also make it a habit of your life being righteous, or you're still living and meditating on those principles throughout daily life. It's informal, it's time to kind of just like act it out, and it should become like second nature or first nature, just like breathing, right? It should literally become a part of your entire life, not just over here when you're meditating. Like some people like, okay, we'll go to church, we got like good people here, but the rest of my life I live like the sons and daughters of hell. That ain't how it's supposed to be. You're not supposed to be like 2 different people. Your life here should be, actually, your life here is the biggest thing, because that really defines the real you. What you do in your own time when nobody can see you, to whereas it's like you putting on a show like once a week or twice a week when you go amongst the brethren. Don't work like that. Your entire life should be holy, should be, a representation of what holiness should be.
Let me turn the light back on up here.
It is on, fool. There you go. All right. The formal mode is when a person makes a special time to sit and concentrate on meditating. A person cannot be meditating constantly all day long. They have to go to work, to pay bills, take care of family matters, etc. Those times are the informal times. During those times, the aspirant learns to live life in a meditative manner so that the peace is not disturbed and so that the mind remains pure, and in this manner be ready for formal practice, right? It's kind of like what I was just explaining. Therefore, both aspects are important. Formal and informal. 3 states of mind. According to the ancient Egyptian myth of Hetheru and Jehudi, remember Jehudi is wisdom, we learn that there are 3 states of mind in order to achieve success in meditation and to reach the great goal of Nehast, or awakening. These states must be understood, and the complexes of the mind that allow it to be affected and afflicted by the lower states, or agitated and dull, must be overcome. These states will be discussed in detail later in the text. And so it has 3 more sets of hieroglyphs I think y'all both can see them. Okay, and so this one is backwards to me, so I gotta look. It says Women's Ob. This is Women's Ob, dense, dull of sense, right? You have this one, niche, agitated or disturbed, and this one is Beck, lucid, to be bright to see. Lucid, to be bright to see. Okay. Listening, meshert, reflection, maui, meditation, ua. 3 steps in meditation: concentration, meditation, super consciousness, or mua, or maui, ua, si, SYH. Okay. There are 3 steps in the practice of meditation. Each step is to be understood and practiced so as to gradually lead the mind to expanding experiences of higher consciousness. SYH. Yes, Tootie.
The ice gotta keep turning the light off.
What's happening is you're covering up the camera. You got to make sure you're not covering up the camera because, look, here, you got it upside down. Don't cover this up. Otherwise, it'll keep going out. It'll keep darkening it like nobody's using it. You got it? Okay, just make sure you can always see the camera at the top. This is the top.
Mom.
Yes.
I don't care.
Well, flip it around however you want to flip it around, girl. There are 3 steps in a meditation practice. Hold on. There are 3 steps in the practice of meditation. Each step is to be understood and practiced so as to gradually lead the mind to expanding experiences of higher consciousness. Experiences of ecstasy allow the ordinary consciousness to be elevated because the mind is presented with a state of consciousness otherwise unbeknown to it. When sufficient experiences of super consciousness occur, the mind becomes established in that higher consciousness, and then a person is said to be awakened. Kind of like it's called your reticular activation system, right? You're probably like, what the world? Okay, so you know how you go buy a car. Say you buy a black Suburban, right? Next thing you know, you start seeing black Suburbans everywhere. It's your reticular activating system that has now been awakened to that particular thing. Maybe before you chose to get a black Suburban, you never even paid attention to it. But now that you have one and you recognize it, you see it everywhere. It's the same thing. Once you're awakened to something, you see it everywhere. Your reticular activation system has been awakened to it. It's kind of also like in marketing. In marketing, they teach you in order for somebody to remember something, it has to be presented, or they have to see it at least 7 times for it to begin to click, for them to begin to notice it, which is why they constantly play commercials over and over and over again. You may not be in the market to buy a new, I don't know, maybe a new camera system, but they know you're not paying attention, you're not tuned into it, so they have to keep showing it till your reticular activating system begins to pick it up. Like, these bodies are literally like machines. They really have it figured out down to the T, which is why marketing is so effective with the commercials and anything, just different words. If they say it enough times to certain groups of people, like, wait a minute, yeah, I heard that before. I seen, wait a minute, that sounds familiar. Your reticular activating system, it's probably been a few times that you heard it or somebody said something, but now you've just gotten to the state to where you're beginning to recognize it. It's the same thing when we begin to wake up spiritually. Y'all drops nuggets of truth on us all our life. I'm like, wait a minute. Okay, so back then, this what that was? It's like when you actually reach Nehast or awakening, All those different jewels that were dropped on you in past times to get your attention, everything comes flooding back to you like the curtains have just been opened. And the sun comes through, and now you're awakened, right? She's woke, and now it's like, man, and now that's when that happens, when the light comes on, that's when you actually on purpose begin to search for the truth. But now it won't let you go. It's like, wait a minute, hold on. And and it propels you from that point, right? Okay. I'll read that again. There are 3 steps in the practice of meditation. Each step is to be understood and practiced so as to gradually lead the mind to expanding experiences of higher consciousness. See, experiences of ecstasy allow the ordinary consciousness to be elevated because the mind is presented with a state of consciousness otherwise unbeknown to it.
Not doing anything. Just keep doing it.
I gave you directions to follow so it wouldn't do that. But you told me you didn't care. I can take it from you altogether. See, but every time you come back here, because there's light here, it brightens back up. If you will follow directions, you don't have to worry about it. Keep it up in the light so you can see, girl. When sufficient experiences of super consciousness occur, the mind becomes established in that higher consciousness, and then a person is said to be awakened. Heft, H-E-F-D. The next level of experience is a form of immersion in divine consciousness wherein the mind dissolves completely and subsides, so there is no time and no space or awareness of individuality, but rather all-encompassing experience. But the experience is recognized by the mind after it is over. During the experience itself, the personality ceases to exist as an ego consciousness being that is aware of objects separate from itself. Therefore, there is oneness, homogeneity, Homogeny, Homogeneity, homogeneity between the individual and the divine. The experience of transcendental consciousness is described as blissful, meaning unencumbered, abiding happiness, and the personality eventually recognizes that state to be more comfortable and normal than the usual conscious state, and awareness as a mortal individual with a body and with finite sense experience and separate from all else. Let me just read the whole sentence again. It was pretty long. All of that was one long sentence. Okay. During the experience itself, the personality ceases to exist as an ego consciousness being aware. I'm sorry. Let me start again. Slow down, Pamela. During the experience itself, the personality ceases to exist as an ego consciousness being that is aware of objects separate from itself. Therefore, there is oneness, homogeneity between the individual and the divine. The experience of transcendental consciousness is described as blissful, meaning unencumbered, abiding happiness, and the personality eventually recognizes that state to be more comfortable and normal than the usual conscious state and awareness as a mortal individual with a body and with finite sense experience and separated from all else. All right, so down at the bottom, it has some more hieroglyphs. The first one, I'm going to read it first. The first one is Maui, to think, to ponder, to fix attention, to concentrate. Ua, U-A-A, means meditation. Se is ecstasy or religious. And then you have heft, H-E-F-D. I think I'm saying it right. Heft, or maybe it's heft. Maybe the D is silent. We just say heft, right? Swoon or subsiding during religious ecstasy. This is, hold it up so everybody can see it. Okay. Right there. You can screenshot it and blow it up. First time, shalom. Welcome, Chicago. Okay. I looked into Bitcoin. I have not yet invested into it. Shoot, one Bitcoin is like 54. Last time I checked, like $54,000 for one Bitcoin. We ain't reached that level yet. We can't even. No, not yet. Not saying not to, but I'm just saying I haven't really checked in. I did a little bit of checking, but I have not invested in Bitcoin yet. All right. The next page. Well, it's a part of this. I'm gonna just read this. Is like 2 sentences and another chart, and we'll pause. Men-ob, MEN space ob, AB, man. Men-ob, man's firm heart established. Men-ob, okay. Men-ob means firm of heart, resolute, or will. Men-ob, okay. Men-ob, man's firm of heart established. Firm higher consciousness. This is achieved through ma'at, or living in harmony, righteousness, informal and formal meditation, which leads to Nehast, or spiritual awakening. And so this is a chart, the last little chart I'm going to show you, then we're going to end. The first one is Men-ob, the hieroglyph of Men-ob, which means firm of heart, resolute, and will. Right, and then it has the arrows going to either Arik Ma'at or Nehast. Or actually, you have to be firm of heart. You got to be firm of heart, resolute to even go in either direction, right? Okay, and so the one that the arrow that's pointing to up top is Arik Ma'at, meaning to work rightly, lead life of integrity, actions in line with Ma'at. Remember, Ma'at is balance, justice, equal scales, right? So you have to work rightly and lead a life of integrity, or a life of ma'at. And then the one going down is Nehast, or resurrection, spiritual enlightenment. We hear the word resurrection if you come from the Christian religion. Okay. So this is that. I think everybody can see it. I'm gonna come a little closer just in case. All right, y'all. And so this is where we're gonna pause at today. We didn't get to what I wanted to read, but we'll get to this tomorrow. It's what is the mind? That's good. All right, y'all. My page number. All right, y'all. So it is Thursday, April the 28th, 2022, day 94 of year 4 of reading through the books of the law and the prophets, and of the 4-year consecutive day count, day 1112. Today we read in the OAHSPE. We started on page 42, and we paused on page 46. And then we jumped over to the meditation book, and we read from pages 79 to 81. Sorry for all the glitching and stuff. It keep going in and out. It says unstable. I think I might just have to upload the video from Facebook for that today. So sorry for all that. We'll go ahead and get out of here. Hopefully the Facebook video is not as bad as the YouTube video, because those are the only 2 recordings I got for the video right now. And so y'all might have to deal with the glitches. I think Facebook will actually just kind of skip when the recording is done. It won't have like the glitching and pausing. I think it'll just kind of skip. So it's like I'll be saying a sentence, and then it'll glitch, and it'll pick back up, and I'll be finishing another sentence. It's like, wait, what did you just say? That's how Facebook cuts out all the glitches. It just, whatever. All right, y'all. I love y'all. Thank y'all for hanging out today. May y'all bless you and lead you and continue leading and guiding you into all truth. And may you be aware of it when it presents itself to you. All right, I love y'all. See y'all back here tomorrow morning, bright and early, 7:15 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. Remember, this coming weekend, we will be, a new moon is upon us, right? So a new month cycle, and we'll be watching for that in the next couple days. So this Saturday will be the last Sabbath of this moon cycle. And I believe, according to what I calculate and what I see, I think we're going to spot it on Sunday or Monday. So the next Sabbath, depending on when new moon actually shows herself, it's going to go to Sunday or Monday. But we'll see. We got to just keep watching. All right, y'all. I love y'all. See y'all tomorrow. Peace.